I'm Chris Fawcett. I'm on the Tiffin Steadicam booth at the International Broadcast Convention, so excuse the background noise. We're here to talk about the Volt. The Volt is presently on the M1 and is acting as a horizon stabilization assistant for the Steadicam rig. Setting up the Volt, what you want to do is get your rig into really beautiful dynamic balance with your usual drop time. But as soon as you've got the dynamic balance, you readjust the drop time and you make the rig completely neutral. So there's the rig completely neutral. I'm going to turn on the Volt. Before I do that, I align the rear of the stage with the yoke handle. Then I switch on the Volt. I wait 3 seconds. Now we're good to go. I take the Volt off pause. And what we have now is a rig with an artificial bottom heaviness. And this artificial bottom heaviness works in roll and in tilt. And we're going to go into detail about those functions in our next installment. Okay, now the control box. It has controls on it. What do they do? On-off switch. Like I said before, when you switch it on, you want to have the rear of the stage aligned to the gimbal handle. 3 seconds later, it's good to go. It's on pause now because if you had it on the stand, you wouldn't want the motors to be fighting. If I switch to on, the Volt is instantly active and doing its job. We have these 3 knobs here, fairly self-explanatory. The first one is roll, and this governs the strength of the motors in roll axis, which of course is the axis that we're most interested in correcting. If our horizon is off, we want this to be solidly bringing us back to a level horizon. And this dial governs how strongly the motors want to come back to a level horizon. If I were shooting strange architecture with funky angles and I wanted to Dutch a little bit, I'd probably have this roll turned down so that I could very easily Dutch. But the Volt would still want to help me back to level. If I were in windy conditions, on the contrary, I might want to turn it up to full so that it's really resisting being blown around. We cross over to the other side, we have exactly the same thing in tilt. You probably don't want the tilt turned up as high as the roll in most circumstances. But say for example, you were running around doing some fast action, you're trying to control headroom and it's a windy day, yeah sure, you might want to turn the tilt up. And that's going to make the Steadicam behave like it's quite bottom heavy, except when it comes back to level, it stays there. The last dial, the damping dial, governs that behavior to a great extent. If I have the damping turned up high, the Steadicam will come back to level very solidly and stop there. If I have the damping turned down very low, it'll come back to level, it will very slightly overshoot, and then come to level again properly. That is more like what you're used to with the traditional bottom heaviness on the Pendular Steadicam. So it's really a personal preference thing, I think, how you set that. The final control, the trim control, read the manual. Now the fun part. When you're operating the Volt, there's only one button, and this is why humans have opposable thumbs. So you can reach all the way around here and touch this. Let me tell you what it does. At present, the Volt is set up to give you an artificial bottom heaviness where the post is completely vertical. If I put it off vertical, it comes down to vertical and it stops there. But by pressing this button, I can effectively trim the Steadicam to any angle that I want. So now the new artificial bottom heavy position is set to there. And if I pan, the Volt will help you maintain level at this angle. And I can reset it at any time just by hitting the button and it's reset. And I can hit it on the fly and it's reset again. So if I have a particular headroom for a shot, I can set it for that headroom. I can reset it any time I want. That's the basic function of this button. But it also will shift modes. If I press and hold for 2 seconds, it goes into what we call sticky mode. And sticky mode allows me to push the Steadicam in tilt to any position, and it will just preferentially want to stay in that position. Now, I think that this is a good mode for if you're running around doing very fast action. You maybe even only got one hand on the gimbal because you're using the other hand to balance yourself, and you want to control headroom at the same time, this just makes it a little bit sticky. So wherever you place the Steadicam, in tilt angle, in trim angle, it will just stay there. And to get out of that mode, it's a 2-second button press, and you're back to normal. A little addendum to the trim function of this button. We normally would trim up here on the stage. When you've got the Volt set up and the Steadicam completely dynamically balanced and neutrally balanced, you do not touch the trim controls here because you do all the trimming electronically. The only exception is if you happen to tilt up and you have the Steadicam locked off either in regular mode or what we affectionately call sticky mode, and you notice that the camera is starting to pan around, at that moment you can just adjust the side to side until it's completely perfectly balanced. We have the blue flashing light. That means the Volt is on. It's on pause, of course, because it's on the stand. You'll notice also that the Volt is docked on the gimbal on a padded dock. Very nice. First thing I want to do is take it off pause, of course, so that it's working. You'll notice that this cable is wrapped very nicely around the gimbal. You should have it not too loose and not too tight. As long as you're not planning on doing selfies, it's going to be pretty much okay in any kind of situation. I've got the controls here at my thumb, and I have instant access to these controls should I want to change them all on the fly. When I dock the Volt, I put it onto pause, I dock on the gimbal, close the over center lever, and it's good. I'm in one of the several rest positions, as you can see, so of course the Volt is on pause. When I want to go to operate again, I take it off pause. Now, say for example I were doing a little shot here where I wanted a particular headroom, I would set a trim angle just by hitting this button and it's locked. I want to change it, I hit it again and it's locked again. If I'm doing a big tilt up and I want to hold that, I hit the button and it's locked again. So it really helps me control the trim angle of the Steadicam, and I can adjust it on the fly. Then we're back to normal. I just set the trim about 6 times in 30 seconds. Anywhere I push this button is the new trim angle for my shot. Okay, a 2-second press on this button gets me into sticky mode. And just to remind you, sticky mode means that wherever I put the Steadicam in tilt, it just wants to stay at that angle. So if I'm doing some running around and I want to control the headroom on an actor, or I want to control the tilt angle so I don't see the lights, I don't see the floor, I probably put it into sticky mode. And then as soon as I'm back to doing delicate work, a 2-second press and bam, we're back to just normal operation. Garrett Brown talks about the cycle of attention when you're operating Steadicam. There are 4 things that you're continually thinking about as you're working. You're thinking about composition, you're thinking about narrative development, you're thinking about your own navigation and horizon. And if the horizon is off, it doesn't matter how good the other 3 are, you've really blown the shot. So having something that helps you compensate the horizon, helps you maintain a level horizon, allows you to concentrate on the more interesting parts of Steadicam. And it does it by the expedient of a very simple device that weighs less than 1 kilo, that sits exactly at the center of gravity of your rig, and allows you to have exactly the same build of rig that you normally work with. You don't have to extend the post, you don't have to add weights, you work with your normal length of Steadicam rig that you're used to. I don't know about you, but if you're like me, I would rather eat my own feet than go into Don Juan, because my Don Juan sucks. I will run backwards endlessly rather than go into Don Juan. But with the Volt, my Don Juan suddenly got really, really good because I could concentrate on the composition, the narrative development, and my navigation without worrying about the horizon. What a difference. And while we're here, let's just quickly look at low mode.
Yeah.
Quick and dirty. Well, we just cleaned it up a lot. It's quick and clean. Instant stabilization in low mode. Just by flipping around. Whip pans. I can normally land about 2 out of every 5 whip pans. So with the Volt Horizon Assist, I can pretty much whip pan all day, and I can do more risky whip pans. I can even work whip pans into a shot where I might not normally take a risk of doing a whip pan. And interestingly, I can do a whip pan tilt, which for me is really, really hard. So I start off high, I whip around to the preset low condition, and I can land about 2 and 5 of those. Of course, in low mode, it's just the same, except with the help of the Volt stabilizing my horizon, I don't necessarily need to get my hand under the gimbal. So if I have a really long post and I can't reach all the way down there, I can whip pan up here. And it's going to help me to stabilize the shot a lot. Helps if I look at it though. Or maybe not. The best thing about the Steadicam Volt, for me, is that it's totally transparent. As an operator, I don't even know it's there. I just feel like I'm operating at the top of my game. You know, just from the usual things, the short, hard stops and starts. You don't have to worry anymore about the pendulation, to wind buffeting around and disturbing the gimbal, all the way up to those really complicated shots, you know, looking up into the dome of the cathedral. You do a lovely 360. And then the director expects you to walk down the nave, tilting down completely dead nuts level. Well, how hard is that? Well, with the Steadicam Volt, it's easy.